What's good, y'all? I just been following this saga between Britney Spears and her sister, Jamie Lynn Spears. Britney has since been off of conservatorship for 13 years, and Jamie Lynn dropped a book out of nowhere and was being interviewed on Nightline. And I'm gonna get my thoughts on that. And also, they've been going back and forth on social media or what have you. And I'm going to first play the rest of the infamous interview between Jamie Lynn, and we're going to talk about that.
Lynn found her voice. Why do you think it makes you emotional still all these years later?
I just thank God that thank God I stood up for myself and said exactly what I wanted.
Jamie Lynn Spears remembers being pregnant at 16 and feeling utterly isolated, a scandalized teenage TV star.
Everyone, of course, initially was completely shocked, and they're like, this is a baby having a baby. And in those moments, I just felt really alone.
Jamie, this way! Spears says she grew up pretending that everything was perfect, even when it wasn't, as her family often focused instead on her world-famous sister Britney's turbulent life. You wrote, and I'm going to quote you, the entire Spears team was already caught up in my sister's PR difficulties, and everyone around me just wanted to make the issue disappear.
Yeah, I think that the easy thing for possibly them would have been let's just get this over with, and you go back to being the perfect little sister, because that's your role.
As her sister's career reached the highest heights, Jamie Lynn had forged her own path to stardom on Nickelodeon as the feisty lead in Zoe 101.
So, do I get to hear the song before you guys put it in the time capsule?
I feel like Zoe was what I always wanted to be. I was just like every other teenager, very insecure about a lot of things about myself, but also trying to pretend like I was perfect, I guess.
But not everything was perfect. Behind the glitz and the glamour was profound anxiety, grappling with the pressures of fame and a chaotic family.
I've never shared anything.
Now 30, the married mother of 2 daughters says she's breaking the cycle by breaking her silence about her childhood traumas, her struggles with mental health, and the pressures of growing up Spears. In her new book, Things I Should Have Said.
It was really important to me to, first off, honor my voice. I have to do it, or how else can I expect my daughters to stand up for themselves?
Do you worry that by speaking your truth, that it will harm your relationships?
Well, nobody ever really considered me, but I think that everyone is allowed to say their truth.
When news of her pregnancy broke in 2007, it created a media feeding frenzy. Jamie Lynn facing the same heated circus that followed her famous sister Britney's every move.
Why are you here, other than to shame me and to benefit off of a young girl who's going through something already so traumatic and so deep and personal? But now you're going to put me on a magazine cover and call me a slut for it. It just really, it's so unacceptable. We say we do better, but now we just go into the comments on Instagram and do it.
Jamie Lynn claims her family and management team sent her away to a remote cabin somewhere in the snowy Northeast to avoid the media. No phone, no contact with the outside world for weeks.
What was I going to do? I was a kid, and maybe this isn't my best interest, and maybe this is what I'm supposed to do, because of course I don't want to be, hounded by the paparazzi, but it felt like I was really being alienated.
Jamie Lynn also says that her family life had long been plagued by her father's past drinking. According to the New York Times, court papers show he attended rehab for alcoholism in 2004. You wrote in the book, he spent most of my life in that cycle of ruinous behavior. His bouts of drinking always caused me periods of torment and sorrow.
It was created a lot of anxiety of the not knowing what I was going to get, and also feeling like I didn't have anybody there to just cut it out until it could be consistent.
But while Jamie Lynn was grappling with the fallout over pregnancy, her sister was struggling. a bitter divorce, and Britney recently lost custody of her 2 young sons. Trapped by the relentless flash of cameras, she shaved her own head, and what seemed to be a mental breakdown, coming to a head in a 2007 confrontation with paparazzi. Jamie Lynn says over the years, she'd already noticed Britney's behavior begin to change. In the book, you describe an incident where Britney takes a knife, says she's scared, and locks you and herself into a room. Why did you want to include that in the book?
Because, first off, I think that experiencing my own panic attacks and how sometimes we can feel in those moments is important, but also it's important to remember that I was a kid in that moment. I was scared. That was an experience I had, but I also was fearful to really say anything because I didn't want to upset anybody, but I also was so upset that she didn't feel safe.
Words that you've used in the book to describe her behavior over your lifetime was erratic, paranoid, spiraling. How do you see your sister's state of mind currently?
I can't really speak to anyone else's state of mind. I don't think that's fair, but I'm allowed to say how I felt in those because that matters. It matters that I was in pain. It matters. It doesn't matter where they came from.
In 2008, after 2 hospitalizations, the court gave their father, Jamie Spears, legal control over Britney's personal, professional, and financial affairs. The conservatorship was initially seen by some as a stabilizing force in her life. Britney released 4 albums and performed nearly 250 shows in her Las Vegas residency. While dad Jamie was conservator, Jamie Lynn says father and daughter tried to stay sober together. You describe the fact that your father in the conservatorship was taking sobriety tests alongside Britney as part of that.
I just probably selfishly looked at it as everybody's sober right now. I don't have to be anxious for the first time, there's actual people making sure everybody's on the right track, and I didn't have to worry what I was walking into.
How would you describe your relationship with him now?
It's a real time, real life. It's messy, and I'm working through it. I have good days and bad days, and I think the relationship stands is that he's still my father, and I have to acknowledge that in a responsible way.
Last summer, at the height of the Free Britney movement, Britney spoke out in court against the conservatorship, calling it abusive and overly controlling. The pop star saying she wanted to sue her family, lashing out at her father in particular, saying he should be put in jail. Jamie Spears and his attorneys have consistently claimed that everything was done under the authority of the conservatorship and with Britney's best interests in mind. Do you agree with her assessment that your father was out of line?
Honestly, I just believe that if my sister wanted to be out of the conservatorship, then that conversation should be had, and she should be able to facilitate that.
Britney's conservatorship lasted for 13 years before it was officially terminated by a judge in November. What was your reaction when the conservatorship was dissolved?
When it was dissolved, I was happy. I think that for me, if that's what makes Britney and everyone else happy, that's what should happen. And that's all it is. It has so very little to actually do with me except for the well-being of my family members.
Jamie Lynn saying for the first time that she even tried to give Britney the resources she needed to end the conservatorship.
I've always been my sister's biggest supporter. So when she needed help, I set up ways to do so. Went out of my way to make sure that she had the contacts she needed to possibly go ahead and end this conservatorship. But how many times can I take the steps without, she has to walk through the door.
There's been speculation of a rift. Many of Britney's fans attacking Jamie Lynn online, noting that Britney unfollowed her on Instagram. Britney also posting last July about her sister's tribute performance at the 2017 Radio Disney Awards, writing, "I don't like that my sister showed up at an awards show and performed my songs to remixes. My so-called support system hurt me deeply."
Honestly, it was somewhat confusing to me about that, and I actually have spoke to her about that. And I was doing a tribute to honor my sister and all the amazing things that she's done.
But you've cleared that up with her?
I have cleared up with the fact that I don't think she's personally upset with me about that.
Jamie Lynn says their relationship came to a head during the pandemic. She writes that Britney came at me screaming and getting up in my face while she was holding her toddler, Ivy, in her arms.
She cursed at me, and so I just walked out of the room. I was like, we're just all family under one roof. Like, I'm not trying to argue. And when I tried to remove myself from the situation, that's when I guess she just got really angry. And my oldest daughter tried to, mediate the situation. I hated that. Like, that's not what you're supposed to do. You're 12.
But rather than respect everyone's wishes, Jamie Lynn says her family was reverting to unhealthy patterns. Her parents' response?
They told me that I shouldn't be upset. Like, I can't upset Britney. I said, you just saw me and my children be upset. When will I matter?
Despite their complicated relationship, Jamie Lynn says while the world idolized her big sister, Britney, who's 10 years older, was like a second mother to her.
So I feel like she was like I loved her that much, and to have, it's just so innocent to love your siblings, and especially me, because I loved her like she was my mama,
What happened to that love? What has caused this rift between you?
That love is still there, 100%. I love my sister. I've only ever loved and supported her and done what's right by her, and she knows that. So I don't know why we're in this position right now.
ABC News reached out to Britney Spears and her father Jamie for comment. They did not respond. When we come back, the news.
I heard the interview, and I gotta say this based on my observation of the situation. All I gotta say is this. Why all of a sudden she's dropping a book? I mean, the timing is just interesting. Is it because she's being cut off financially since she's off of conservatorship? Because the thing is, she's been benefiting off of Britney's conservatorship alongside other people. And she just really comes off self-absorbed. I mean, she speaks on herself, how things impacted her, when really, girl, both of y'all were raised in a dysfunctional household. Okay? So be empathetic towards your sister, because she was the one who was stuck in hostage, basically. Couldn't even do shit, was restricted of doing things, had to be forced to have a IUD, even though she wanted to get pregnant by her boyfriend that she's now engaged to, couldn't get married, just restricted of everything. And these people claim were so concerned about her mental health. Then why you have her working when she didn't want to? Like, let me get this straight. She wasn't equipped to take care of her finances, her well-being and shit, but she was equipped enough for y'all to have work, going on tour and shit like that. Like, I gotta call bullshit. And we can't. This is the thing. We can't. No one. Listen. We know she had mental break. I remember that as a teen. Her, having a mental break. Now, do I think that conservatorship was a bit much? I don't think she should have been on it that long the way they did. They totally took advantage of her. and her mental state. I mean, just because someone's having mental breaks and having mental problems doesn't give you the right to abuse the situation and take advantage. And that's what her father was doing, and amongst other people that was involved. And not only that, Jamie Lynn is saying all these things about her, right? But at the end of the day, you were benefiting off of her. And based off of what Britney said, you did not go out of your way to get her off of the conservatorship. Like, you were just complacent. And I'm going to read all the back and forth between Britney and her sister on social media. Yeah, so this is what Britney been saying, and I'm basically going to read all the shit she posted on her social media. So I got really sick last night, 104-degree fever, maybe higher, not sure because I stopped checking. I'm never sick. So if I do get sick, I'm a drama queen. I needed Advil for the pain in my head. I had nothing. I called my security. Can you please go get me something to relieve the pain in my head? My fever is pretty high. Immediately, sorry, no. I can't leave the premises. I have to stay on property. So I said, of course, unless there's an emergency and I have a 104-degree fever. I told him the other security leave sometimes in emergencies. It wasn't what he said to me. It was a sarcasm in his voice when he told me he couldn't go get it for me. Oh well, look at my phone and I see that my sister did her interview to promote her book. I watched it with a 104 fever degree. Laugh out loud, and it was actually kind of nice having a fever so high because I had to surrender to not caring. Just couldn't give a fuck. But my head hurts so bad. Of course, I'm a drama queen. If I get sick, so I think I was dying. I'm not even joking. My body had chill bumps everywhere. Like I was freezing, yet my body was extremely hot and I couldn't move. It was pretty intense. I'm fine today, just sore, and the fever has made my head extremely sensitive. I'm also couldn't even touch my own body. My skin was too sensitive. Okay, enough about my sick experience. Anyway, the two things that did bother me that my sister said was how my behavior was out of control. She was never around me much 15 years ago at that time, so why are they even talking about that unless she wants to sell a book at my expense? Really? Then where the lady mentioned, why did she accuse you of doing remixes to her songs? I know it may sound like a silly thing to most people, but I wrote a lot of my songs and my sister was the baby. She never had to work for anything. Everything was always given to her. If you were me, you might understand asking for 13 years for remixes to go into a small venue show and on tours. 13 years later, they assigned me as the mother of all. Heart of Gold. Britney sitting there seeing a 15-minute performance of everything I've ever wanted. But see, I always was the bigger person and they all got to do it and play me. And I always sat there and took it. But see, now it's a joke. The last thing I would ever do is ask for what was just given to her. So yes, they did ruin my dreams. I do remember asking my sister why she did that when she knew I was waiting to change my show, and her only words were, well, it wasn't my idea. Hope your book does well, Jamie Lynn. I won't be doing Instagram for a while. The media, this business has always been extremely hateful to me. I've given enough, more than enough. I was never given back ever what I want. They say in the Bible, ask and you shall receive. Not in my life. Just like my family, I asked security for Adlib as I laid there with 104-degree fever in bed, and he told me no. My family ruined my dreams 100 billion% and tried to make me look like the crazy one while I have a 104 fever, not being able to move in my bed. My family loves to pull me down and hurt me always, so I'm disgusted with them. Well, it's 101 degree. Jamie Lynn responded and said, "Last thing I want to be doing is this, but here we are. It's hard to see these posts as I know the world also feels. I just wish her well, Britt. I am always here. You know, behind the scenes, I have always been here. It's become exhausting when conversations and texts we have in private don't match what you post on social media. I know you're going through a lot, and I never want to diminish that, but I also can't diminish myself. Quite frankly, the things being said are absolutely not true, not the truth. And I have to clarify that because now it's getting harder for me to rationalize to my oldest daughter why our family continues to get death threats as a result of their aunt's vague and accusatory posts, especially when we know she could tell the truth and put an end to all of it in 1 second if she wanted to. Sadly, after a lifetime of staying silent, I have come to realize this isn't going to be a reality. I may have to set the record straight myself in order to protect mine and my family well-being. That being said, I hate to burst my sister's bubble, but my book is not about her. I can't help that I was born a Spears too, and that some of my experiences involve my sister. I've worked hard since before I was even a teenager, and I built my career in spite of just being someone's little sister. There are no sides, and I don't want drama, but I'm speaking my truth to heal my traumas so I can close this chapter and move forward. And I wish my sister could do the same. No matter what comes, I will always love my big sister and be here for her. It's time to put an end to the unhealthy chaos that has controlled my life for so long." Brittany just been on social media speaking up for herself because she wasn't happy of what was said about her in the book, or what have you. So she said, "Jamie Lynn, congrats, babe. You've stooped to a whole new level of low. I've never been around you ever with a knife, or would I ever even think to do much such. The only knife I ever saw you with at home was cutting the biggest pieces of squash I ever saw in my life, and it was way too big for me to cut. So please, please stop with these crazy lies for the Hollywood books. Now and only now, I do know only a scum person would make up such things about someone. I'm actually very confused about you making that up because it's honestly not like you at all. Around the kids, Jamie Lynn, seriously, come on. Congrats on introducing your older sister the concept of getting low, lower, lowest, because you went on that one day." Jamie Lynn responded to her sister referring to her as a scum person by saying, "You might trust your name more than someone who's afraid you'll tell people the truth," while promoting her memoir. Okay, so this is the last response Britney has put out so far. Don't know how long this is going to be because they've been back and forth addressing each other on social media. This is the last thing she says. She said, "Jamie Lynn, I don't think your book is about me at all. I said some harsh things because you obviously hurt me by the things you are making up about me. When I said only a scum person would make up things like that about someone, I could have sworn I said, but you're not. But it doesn't make sense at all to me what you are saying. I know you worked hard for the life you have, and you have done amazing, but I think we would both have to agree to the fact that the family has never been remotely hard on you as they have been on me. What dad did to me, they don't even do that to criminals. So for you to sit back and act completely aloof to what has happened to me is honestly insane to me. Do you know anybody who worked as hard as I did and the hours I put in during those 13 years only to be sent away for 4 months for no reason at all. And I won't even mention what was done to me in that place. It took them years to give me a cup of coffee. People who have killed people and are in jail or on death row can have as much coffee as they want. So why the hell was my own family hiding coffee from me? You guys treated me like nothing, and that's not even half of it. I'm honestly shocked. Dad isn't in jail. Come on, we are supposed to have each other's back. But what you're saying just truly confuses me. All I know is that I love you unconditionally, so go ahead and say whatever you want. It's so tacky for a family to fight publicly like this. You say you love me, yet your loyalty is still with the people that hurt me the most. I think the thing that saddens me the most is that when this all happened to me, and when I called you from that place, you would take days to respond. I never got to talk to you. You would just text me days later, and I was so scared. I needed you, my family, my blood, and your support more than anything. You guys did absolutely nothing until a year ago. I said something on Instagram, and you and Brian showed up at my house because an Instagram post that makes me the saddest. Why? Because I needed you way before that. And the fact that you and Brian showed up laughing at my gate instead of knowing you should have been here way before that makes me very sad. I don't care anymore. Say whatever you want to say. Just know I do know your real heart more than anyone. It's your life and you deserve a beautiful life. I wish I would be able to do what you're doing and do interviews. I'm scared of all of it. I admire you for being strong. Just know I love you and I think you know that already more than anything. But yeah, it's such a sad situation. It truly is. And ever since Britney been off of conservatorship, she's just been speaking her mind on social media because she's been silent for so long, and she finally has a voice to give her grievances. And it was wrong for the people that was supposed to be close to her to take advantage of her mental issues and take advantage of her financially. That was fucked up. And Brittany feels some type of betrayal from her sister because she feels like she was complacent of the whole thing. She felt abandoned by her. So yeah, I hope Brittany can find some solace. I hope she is happy and now she gets to get married and she wants to have a baby with the guy she's with. And I hope, that she can give her side by, if she chooses to write a book about her experiences or do an interview, it's whatever. But at the end of the day, she has the right to be happy. And Jamie Lynn, she says all these things about her, but it's like, girl, you are on camera pulling a knife on people, okay? And you have killed cats. So it's like, are you even in the room to speak on Britney's mental state? I mean, to me, it runs in the fucking family, okay? And your dad did a number on both of y'all. So, I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, I just feel like Jamie Lynn is very self-absorbed and she's not being also sensitive towards how her sister felt. to be cut off from shit, you know, not allowed to play the songs she want to play. I mean, everyone's just taking advantage of her. Like, how the fuck would you feel? And this went on for 13 years. So yeah, y'all just give me y'all thoughts on this whole situation. Peace.